I have been thinking about Lucas a lot lately, which is honestly annoying. Because I shouldn't have to. We were together for almost 2 years. And I thought we had something real. Something that could weather a little drama. Something that was built on more than just fragile male ego. But apparently, I was wrong about him. Apparently, he was just another insecure guy who couldn't handle his girlfriend having a social life. My name is Sienna. I am 28 years old. I am the marketing director at a top-tier firm in the city. I am successful. I am independent. And I am currently single because my ex-boyfriend decided that his pride was more important than our future. It started out so perfectly with Lucas. Those first few months were like something out of a cinema screen. He was a landscape designer. He had these rough, capable hands that knew how to nurture things, how to make things grow. He would bring me coffee in the morning. Specifically, an oat milk latte with exactly 2 pumps of vanilla. He would leave little notes in my planner. He always knew exactly what to say when I had a rough day at the agency. He was attentive without being clingy, funny without trying too hard. And he actually listened when I talked. My friends were jealous, and honestly, I felt pretty smug about landing someone like him. He was stable. He was safe. But after 2 years, things started feeling routine. Lucas still did all the sweet gestures, but they felt automatic somehow. He would trace those little circles on the back of my hand while we watched television. And instead of melting into him like I used to, I would find myself getting irritated by the friction of his skin against mine. He would ask me what I was thinking about every few minutes, and I would have to resist the urge to snap at him. The honeymoon phase was definitely over, and I was starting to wonder if this was all there was. Just quiet evenings. Plans made weeks in advance. Predictability. That is probably why I was so receptive when Damien came into the picture. I met him at a networking event about a month before everything went wrong. Damien was a sales executive. He was sharp. He was fast. He was dangerous in a way that Lucas never was. He was funny in this quick, biting way that reminded me of how I used to be. Before I got all comfortable, before I got settled, Damien actually challenged me in conversations. Instead of just nodding along supportively like Lucas always did. When I complained about my clients, Damien would offer sharp, ruthless solutions. Instead of just saying, "That sounds hard, babe," and rubbing my shoulders. Damien and I started texting pretty regularly after that event. Nothing inappropriate. Just funny observations about the industry. Shared articles. Complaints about the incompetence of upper management. He had this ongoing joke about his boss's terrible toupee that always made me laugh out loud in the middle of meetings. It felt refreshing to connect with someone new. Someone who saw me as Sienna the shark, instead of Sienna the girlfriend. Lucas didn't seem bothered by my friendship with Damien at first. I would mention hanging out with him for drinks after work with the group, and Lucas would just nod and ask if I had fun. I appreciated that he wasn't the jealous type. Or at least, I thought he wasn't. Looking back, maybe he was just being trusting, which apparently was a mistake on his part. The whole thing fell apart over something so stupid, something so trivial. Damien and I were hanging out at his apartment one Thursday evening. We were supposed to be reviewing a pitch deck for a potential collaboration. But we ended up just drinking wine and watching a documentary about cults. I was complaining about Lucas. I was venting about how Lucas had been extra attentive lately, always wanting to hold hands, always wanting to talk about feelings. Sometimes I just wanted to exist without performing the role of the adored partner. Damien was telling me about some drama with his ex-girlfriend who kept trying to get back with him. We got into this weird argument about whether it was worse to be with someone too clingy or someone too distant. Damien was insisting that clingy was worse, that it showed a lack of respect for personal space. I was arguing that distant was worse, because at least clingy meant they cared. We were both getting pretty heated about it, talking over each other, laughing, and then suddenly, Damien just leaned over, and he kissed me. I was completely shocked. For a few seconds I just froze, trying to process what was happening. His lips were different from Lucas's, more aggressive, more demanding. Then reality crashed back in. I pushed him away. I demanded to know what he thought he was doing. He immediately started apologizing, saying he had misread the situation, that he thought there was a vibe, that he thought there was something between us. I told him he was crazy, that I had a boyfriend, that we were friends and nothing more. The The whole thing was so awkward and confusing. Damien kept apologizing, saying he had gotten carried away by the intensity of our argument. I was furious with him for putting me in that position, for potentially ruining our friendship over some stupid misunderstanding. But, if I am being honest, I was also kind of flattered. It had been a while since someone had wanted me enough to just take a risk like that, to just go for it. I drove home feeling completely rattled. Part of me wanted to pretend it never happened, to just go back to normal with both Lucas and Damien, and hope the weirdness would fade. But I knew I couldn't hide something like this from Lucas. We had always been honest with each other. And besides, what if Damien said something to someone? What if it got back to Lucas through a third party? It would look so much worse if Lucas found out from someone else. So that night, when Lucas was doing his usual backtracing thing while we sat on the beige sofa, I took a deep breath, and I told him what happened. I made sure to emphasize that I had pushed Damien away immediately, that I had made it clear nothing like that could ever happen again. I explained how shocked and upset I had been, how I had never given Damien any reason to think I was interested in him that way. Lucas went completely still when I told him. His hands stopped moving on my back. I could feel his whole body tense up beside me, like a coiled spring. When I finished explaining, he was quiet for a long time. Too long. Then he asked me to repeat exactly what happened, step by step. So I did, making sure to emphasize again how I had rejected Damien, how I had been the loyal girlfriend. So he just kissed you out of nowhere? Lucas asked, and his voice sounded different, colder, flatter. Completely out of nowhere, I confirmed. I think he misinterpreted our friendship as something more. But I set him straight immediately. Lucas sat up. He turned to face me fully. His eyes were dark, unreadable. And what did you say to him after you pushed him away? I repeated Damien's apologies, I said. I told him he was crazy and that I had a boyfriend. Lucas nodded slowly, but I could see something building behind his eyes. A storm. I don't think you should hang out with him anymore, Lucas said finally. That is when I got defensive. Lucas. Nothing happened. I handled it. Something did happen, Sienna. He kissed you. And I stopped it immediately, I shot back. I can't control what other people do, but I can control how I respond. And I responded by shutting it down. But you want to keep being friends with him? The question caught me off guard. He is a good friend, Lucas. One mistake doesn't erase that. Lucas stared at me like I had grown a second head. He disrespected you. He disrespected our relationship. How is that a good friend? People make mistakes, I said, getting more frustrated. He apologized. He knows it can't happen again. So you are planning to just go back to hanging out with him like nothing happened? I am planning to maintain a friendship while setting appropriate boundaries, I said, which I thought sounded very mature and reasonable. That is when Lucas really lost it. We got into this huge fight about trust, about boundaries, about what constituted appropriate behavior. He kept saying that Damien had shown his true intentions, and that any guy who would kiss his friend's girlfriend wasn't someone worth being friends with. I kept trying to explain that Damien was genuinely sorry, that people could learn from their mistakes, that I shouldn't have to lose a good friend over one moment of poor judgment. He has been your friend for a month, Sienna. We have been together for 2 years. So I should just cut off every guy who shows interest in me? I asked. That isn't fair, Lucas. I am not asking you to cut off every guy. I am asking you to cut off the guy who kissed you while you have a boyfriend. The fight went on for hours. Lucas kept saying he felt disrespected, betrayed, not just by Damien, but by my insistence on maintaining the friendship. Finally, Lucas gave me an ultimatum. Either you block him everywhere, or we are done. Just like that. 2 years together, and he was ready to throw it all away because I wanted to give someone a second chance. You are being ridiculous, I told him. Maybe, he said, but that is where I stand. I am not going to be in a relationship with someone who stays friends with a guy who kissed her. That is my boundary. I was so angry, I could barely see straight. But I could also see that Lucas was serious, and I wasn't ready to lose him over this. Fine, I said. Okay, I will block him. Lucas's whole demeanor changed immediately. The tension drained out of his shoulders. He pulled me into a hug. He started apologizing for having to make it an ultimatum, saying he knew it wasn't fair, but that he just couldn't handle the alternative. I hugged him back. But inside, I was seething. This was exactly the kind of controlling behavior my friends had warned me about, making me choose between him and my friends, isolating me. But I had agreed, so I had to follow through. I pulled out my phone right there on the couch. I opened Facebook, blocked Damien. I opened WhatsApp, blocked Damien. I deleted his number from my contacts. Lucas watched me do it, nodding approvingly, like a teacher watching a student correct a mistake. But when I got to Instagram, I hesitated. Damien posted the funniest stories on Instagram. We had ongoing jokes about architecture, memes. He shared the best music. Plus, it wasn't like we were messaging each other on there. It was just casual social media interaction. What Lucas didn't know wouldn't hurt him. And I wasn't actually doing anything wrong by keeping one small connection. Just in case things with Lucas didn't work out, or just because I didn't want to completely ghost a friend. So I skipped Instagram. I closed the app quickly before Lucas could see. Done, I said. He is gone. Lucas kissed my forehead. He looked so relieved, so grateful. He kept thanking me, saying how much he appreciated me choosing our relationship. And I just nodded, and let him think I had cut off all contact. For a few days, everything seemed fine. Lucas was back to his affectionate self. He stopped asking me about my plans. He stopped looking at my phone screen when it lit up. I still watched Damien's Instagram stories. I occasionally liked his posts. But that was it. I wasn't messaging him. I wasn't making plans to hang out. I was technically keeping my word about not maintaining the friendship. Social media didn't count as real contact, right? It was passive. It was harmless. But then, the cracks started to show. Lucas was quieter than usual. He stopped talking about the future. He stopped mentioning the trip to Italy we had been planning for next summer. I thought he was just tired from work. I told myself everything was back to normal. It happened on a Tuesday. We were sitting on the couch. I was scrolling through my phone. Lucas was reading a book. Or so I thought. I was mindlessly tapping through Instagram stories. And Damien's name popped up. A video of him at a bar we used to go to. I swiped past it quickly. But not quickly enough. Lucas asked me about it casually at first. Was that Damien? His voice was light. Almost conversational. Like maybe he had misunderstood what he had seen. I tried to play it off. No, just some random influencer. I laughed. A nervous, brittle sound. Why would it be Damien? I blocked him, remember? Lucas put his book down. He looked at me. Really looked at me. Can I see your phone? Don't you trust me? I asked. My voice rising in defensive indignation. Which should have been the end of it. We had been together 2 years. I had proven my loyalty. One stupid app shouldn't be enough to destroy all the trust we had built. But Lucas's face went hard. Harder than I had ever seen it. How am I supposed to trust someone who lies to my face about something so simple? I didn't lie. I protested. I blocked him everywhere that matters. Instagram is just pictures. It doesn't mean anything. You told me you would block him everywhere, Lucas said. His voice was dangerously calm. You looked me in the eye. You agreed to cut contact. Then you deliberately kept him unblocked on the one platform you thought I wouldn't check. You are being controlling, I shot back. I guess I will never have any guy friends again. Right? Is that what you want? To isolate me from everyone? Lucas stared at me for a long moment. Then he did something that chilled me to the bone. If you are really sorry, Lucas said, if you really think this is just a misunderstanding, call your brother Marcus right now. I stared at him. What? Call Marcus, Lucas repeated. Put it on speakerphone. Explain to him what happened. Tell him you kept the guy who kissed you on Instagram after promising to block him. Tell him I am being unreasonable. If Marcus agrees with you, if he says I am being crazy, then I will drop it. I will apologize. My blood ran cold. Marcus was my older brother. He was pragmatic. He was old-fashioned. He adored Lucas. If I told Marcus that I had lied to my boyfriend to keep a channel open with a guy who had made a move on me, Marcus would take Lucas's side immediately. He would lecture me. He would tell me I was sabotaging a good thing. Lucas knew that. He knew exactly what he was doing. That is insane, I told Lucas. Why would I involve my family in our private issues? That is manipulative, Lucas. Because if you can't explain your actions to someone who loves you and wants what is best for you, Lucas said softly, then maybe you know you are wrong. I stood there holding my phone, realizing that Lucas was serious. He actually expected me to humiliate myself, to confess to lying. The whole thing was a trap. He knew I wouldn't do it, which gave him an excuse to feel righteous. This is ridiculous, I said. I am not calling Marcus, and I am not doing this with you. I grabbed my purse, and I walked out of the apartment. I went to a bar. I expected him to call, to text, to beg me to come back. But my phone stayed silent. I stayed at a friend's house that night. I wanted to punish him. I wanted him to worry. But when I returned to the apartment the next day, the atmosphere had shifted. It wasn't hostile. It was empty. Lucas was there, physically, but he was gone. He didn't look up when I walked in. He was sketching something at the dining table. I'm back, I announced. Waiting for the argument. Waiting for the accusation. Okay, he said. He didn't look up. He didn't ask where I had been. He didn't ask if I was hungry. For the next 3 days, I lived with a ghost. Lucas stopped making coffee in the morning. He stopped leaving notes. When I asked him a question, he answered with single syllables. Yes. No. Sure. He slept on the couch. When I tried to confront him about it, he just put his headphones on. It was maddening. I wanted him to yell. I wanted him to fight. Because fighting meant he still cared. Fighting meant there was still something to salvage. But this silence, this absolute, impenetrable silence, it was louder than any screaming match. It made me feel invisible. I started to panic. I cooked his favorite meal. He didn't eat it. I walked around the apartment in my underwear. He didn't look. I tried to provoke him. Are you just going to ignore me forever? I screamed at his back. Is this your way of punishing me? Because it is childish. Lucas. He turned a page of his book. He didn't blink. It was like I was a fly buzzing against a window pane. Annoying, but insignificant. I realized then that he wasn't punishing me to teach me a lesson. He was detaching himself. He was untethering his life from mine, thread by thread, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. By Friday, I couldn't take it anymore. I decided to be the bigger person. I would apologize properly. I would delete the stupid Instagram app entirely. I would do whatever it took to break through this wall he had built. I left work early. I bought a bottle of expensive red wine. I bought steaks. I was going to fix this. I unlocked the front door, and the silence hit me differently this time. It wasn't the silence of someone ignoring me. It was the silence of emptiness. I walked into the living room. His books were gone from the shelves. I ran to the bedroom. His side of the closet was empty. His shoes were gone from the rack by the door. His toothbrush was gone from the bathroom. No note. No letter. Just a key sitting on the kitchen counter. I grabbed my phone. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped it. I dialed his number. It went straight to voicemail. I tried to send a text. Where are you? Please talk to me. The message bubble turned green. Text message. Not iMessage. He had blocked me. I checked WhatsApp. Blocked. I checked Facebook. Blocked. And then, with a sinking feeling in my stomach, I checked Instagram. Blocked. He had done exactly what he had asked me to do to Damien. He had erased me. Completely. Totally. He hadn't just broken up with me. He had removed himself from my existence. I sat on the floor of my kitchen, and I cried. Not the pretty crying you see in movies, but ugly, gasping sobs. I felt like the floor had opened up beneath me. In a moment of desperation, I messaged Damien. I needed someone to be on my side. I needed someone to tell me that Lucas was the crazy one. He left me, I typed. Over the Instagram thing. Can you believe it? I waited. And waited. Damien replied an hour later. Yikes. Sorry to hear that. Listen, Sienna, I'm actually seeing someone new right now, and she's not cool with me talking to ex-flings. Probably best if we cool it for a bit. Good luck, though. And then Damien blocked me too. I stared at the screen. I laughed. A harsh, bitter sound that echoed in the empty apartment. I had fought for my right to keep a friend, and I had lost both the boyfriend and the friend. I was free. I was completely, utterly free, and I had never felt more alone. It has been 6 months. I am sitting in a coffee shop downtown. The rain is hammering against the glass. Typical weather for this city. I am drinking an oat milk latte. But the barista put too much syrup in it. It tastes cloying. Artificial. I haven't heard a word from Lucas. I tried to reach out a few times in the beginning. I called from a work phone. He hung up as soon as he heard my voice. I sent a letter. It came back unopened. Marked return to sender. He meant it. When he said he was done, he was done. There is a terrifying finality to Lucas's decisions that I never appreciated until I was on the receiving end of one. I heard from a mutual friend, Anna, that he is doing well. He got a promotion at his firm. He looks healthy. And apparently, he is seeing someone. A school teacher. Anna says she is sweet, quiet, uncomplicated. That word stung more than I expected. Uncomplicated. As if I was a puzzle that was too difficult to solve. As if my complexity was just a nice word for drama. I have tried dating. I went out with a few guys. One was a creative director. Very stylish. Very opinionated. He reminded me of Damien. We had great banter. But when I had a bad day and needed support, he told me I was bringing down the vibe. I realized then what I had lost. I had traded a man who wanted to build a life with me for the validation of men who only wanted to be entertained by me. I keep replaying that moment on the couch. The moment he asked me to call Marcus. At the time, I thought he was being manipulative. I thought he was trying to control me. But now I wonder if he was just trying to give me a lifeline. He was giving me one last chance to see my actions through the eyes of someone else, to snap out of my own delusion. And I refused. I chose my pride. I chose my autonomy. I chose the hill I wanted to die on. And now I am dead on it. I look at my reflection in the dark window of the coffee shop. I am still beautiful. I am still successful. I am still independent. I have everything I said I wanted. I have no one checking my phone. No one asking where I am. No one telling me who I can be friends with. I am completely free to do whatever I want. I unlock my phone. I open Instagram. My thumb hovers over the search bar. I type in Lucas. Nothing comes up. I am still blocked. I delete the letters one by one. Lucas. I put the phone down. The coffee is cold now. They say he is happy. With his sweet, uncomplicated school teacher, she probably blocks people when he asks her to. She probably doesn't need the validation of other men to feel desirable. She is probably safe, and boring, and happy. And I am here, with my freedom, and my cold coffee, and the silence. The terrible, deafening silence that I fought so hard to keep. It turns out, you can scream as loud as you want in a vacuum, but no one can hear you. I take a sip of the bitter dregs. I swallow it down, and I wait for the rain to stop. But I have a feeling it is going to rain for a very long time.